I'm going to tell you a crazy Italian tale from the 1300s that would later influence Shakespeare and other fairy tales. And this is a painting of it. So get ready for this stuff to happen. It's from one of our earliest books of tales called the Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. Apparently it's recently been made into a Netflix series that I've never seen, but it sounds interesting. This is a frame story set during the Black Death where a bunch of young people are hiding out from the plague in Florence, and it's 7 women and 3 men. This painting by John William Waterhouse called the Decameron gets it right. And they basically tell each other stories to pass the time, and this is one of those stories. It doesn't have a name, but it's day 2, the 9th tale. It starts with a group of Italian merchants who are in Paris, and they are bragging about how they're cheating on their wives on the road. But they assume all of their wives back home are also cheating, and they're kind of okay with it. They say those women aren't letting the grass grow under their feet either. They get it. But this one guy, Barnabo, disagrees. He says, my wife, Zenerva, is absolutely pure. He goes off about how amazing she is. She's beautiful, she's excellent at handicrafts, good manners, as capable with a horse or a falcon as any man, an avid writer and reader. She sounds super cool. He's like, no, I think she's faithful to me for real. Well, this dude Ambrogio thinks this is a bunch of crap. He's like, nah, your girl's cheating on you. Barnabo's like, no, if I was gone for 10 years, she wouldn't cheat on me. So Ambrogiolo, I think I said it wrong the first time. I'm probably saying it wrong now. But anyway, he has this theory that men are more perfect than women. Therefore, men have more willpower than women. Therefore, women are even more likely to cheat. I've mentioned in previous videos the idea that horns sprout from a cuckold's head, a cuckold being a man who gets cheated on, and Ambrogiolo's like, well, since that doesn't literally happen, you never actually know if you're getting cheated on. He says, I bet I could seduce your wife and get her to cheat on you with me. And instead of being like, oh, gross, no, stay away from my wife, Barnabo's like, cool, let's make a bet. And they do, and they formalize it in a contract. Ambrogiolo has 3 months to seduce Zenerva, and he has to prove it with some kind of secret knowledge or tokens of his conquest. So he travels to Italy and he finds out she don't want to sleep with him. Tries to seduce her, she is just not into it. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna lose this bet. I gotta do some trickery. So he befriends Zenerva's friend and gets her to sneak him into her house inside a chest. This is very common in a lot of folk and fairy tales. So he's in this chest in Zenerva's room, and at night he opens it and creeps out while she's asleep. Emphasis on creep. She's sleeping somewhat half naked, and he sees this distinguishing mole on her left breast. He also thinks about having his way with her, but thankfully he does not. Instead, he steals from her some jewelry and trinkets. So he runs back to Barnabo, Zenerva's husband, and he's like, look, I got these trinkets. I slept with your wife. And he's like, anyone could have gotten those trinkets. And he's like, would anyone know that your wife has this mole on her left breast? So Barnabo's heartbroken. He pays the money to Ambrogiolo and then sends a servant to murder Zenerva. Totally sane reaction. Definitely better than talking to her. Thankfully, Zenerva convinces the servant he sends to kill her not to kill her. In very Snow White fashion, she gets some clothes and puts blood on them and gives them to the servant. He takes them back as proof that he killed her. She disguises herself as a man and runs away to go live life and, escape further murder attempts. She gets a job as a cabin boy, sails to Egypt, and gets a job working for the Sultan of Alexandria. Remember, she's really capable and smart. She gets everyone's respect and becomes the most trusted servant of the Sultan. The Sultan sends her on some business to what's now northern Israel, and she's inspecting some goods there, and she recognizes her own stuff. Ambrogiolo is there selling the stuff that he stole from her, and he brags to her about how he got it, and she figures out exactly what happened. So she's like, I'm gonna get revenge and fix this. She gets Ambrogiolo to come back with her to the Sultan on promise of an investment, and also Barnabo, who has fallen into poverty since then, as he deserves. She gets both these dudes in front of the Sultan, and she's like, Ambrogiolo, tell the Sultan the story of how you bested this man and won this wager. Ambrogiolo admits to the truth of his trickery because he's scared of the Sultan. Then our girl turns to her husband and says, so what'd you do after he tricked you? And he's like, I had my wife killed, but I guess it was all for nothing, Ambrogiolo. Zenerva goes off and just rants about how awful Ambrogiolo is, how stupid her husband is, and she tells the Sultan, I will produce this woman in question. She's not actually dead if you promise to punish the deceiver and pardon the dupe. The Sultan agrees, and she reveals herself as Zenurva and even bares her breast to prove that she's her because of the mole. The Sultan is even more impressed by her, praises her intelligence, her virtue and strength of character, and he gives her tons of money and clothes and servants. Barnavo begs for her forgiveness, and she graciously gives it to him. Don't know if I would, but good on her. And the Sultan has Ambrosiolo tied to a pole, smeared with honey, and left out for the insects to devour. When the now greatly esteemed and wealthy Zenurva and her husband return home, they pass by the pole, and there are only his bones hanging there to testify to his wickedness. Those were some hungry bugs. The woman telling the story, because it is one of the women, her name is Philomena, ends with the proverb, "A dupe will outwit his deceiver." But it's really the dupe's wife who will outwit everyone. The tropes in here of women cross-dressing as men, people tricking people into thinking people are cheating, and everything getting revealed before a monarch who then sets everything right are very common in lots of fairy tales. And Shakespeare basically took the entire plot of the story I just told you and made it a major part of one of his plays, Cymbeline. Cymbeline is even more twisted and messy, more insane than you could possibly imagine, and I decided I'm going to make a video about that next because why not talk about Shakespeare too? He also borrowed heavily from fairy tales, and his lesser-known, weirder plays are just worth telling people about. I'll also probably make some more Decameron story videos because they are wild. Check out my book, Dust Spells, which is a reimagining of the 12 Dancing Princesses or the Shoes That Were Danced to Pieces, if you know the Grimm brother version. Also with very smart women who outwit devils. And romance with a dude who actually deserves it. And check out my podcast, Folk Tales and Fairy Lore. Link is in the bio.